Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
No one has any idea what is going on with Caitlin Clark and her injury. There is no clarity. There is no honesty being put out there. We just simply do not know at this point, to where we are getting conflicting information from separate Indiana Fever reporters. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for being here. Appreciate all your support. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Shout out to the 19. This is crazy, folks. Never seen anything like this. Here we have um, Jamie Larda saying, I've been watching basketball long enough to recognize the signs, and with Caitlin Clark not practicing today, it's starting to feel more and more likely that she won't be returning this season. As fans, we should start preparing ourselves for that possibility, just being honest. As Stephanie White says here, until she can get into practice and until you guys see her in practice, it's really status quo, same as we have been. And more people are starting to question what the Indiana Fever has been doing. And look, a lot of people are siding with them and buying into the gaslighting about, oh, aren't owed anything about her medical condition and all of that. To a degree, yes, we're not asking about anything else. News on injuries that keep professional athletes from performing, that being put out there, guidelines on when they're returning, their status, their rehab, all of that being put out into the public is normal. It has always been a part of the sport. That is what we were asking about. How is Caitlin Clark's injury that is keeping her out from playing with the Indiana Fever? How is that progressing? What is the timeline? When can we expect her to be back? That's it. We're not asking about anything else. No one is saying they're owed anything else with regard to her medical situation or her health information. That is a completely separate thing, to where even, Robin Lumberg reported on, and he said, hey, you know what? Look, Fever must offer more clarity on Caitlin Clark's injury return status. It's time the Indiana Fever cleared up just what is going on surrounding Caitlin Clark's potential return from injury. And the one point that I wanted to really to point out here that is a problem is, look, Stephanie White told ESPN back on August 12th that she hoped Clark would be in practice this week. I'm recording this on the 21st, with play-by-play man Ryan Rucco relaying the message about the current pocket of the schedule at time. Now, that stretch where they have the week off is where Stephanie White reiterated to us today she's hoping Caitlin Clark returns to practice. Stephanie talked yesterday about how Caitlin has been running more, doing more on-court work. She is hoping that Caitlin returns to practice next week, would need multiple days in practice before she then gets into a game. And I believe there are 9 games left in the regular season, 3 against the Minnesota Lynx. The Indiana Fever are in a good position for a playoff spot, but they are still fighting for a playoff spot. The Los Angeles Sparks are in the 9th position, the first position out of a spot currently, but only 2.5 games behind the Fever, and they have the tiebreak. And they play each other one more time head to head. And the Fever play the Lynx 3 of their 9 games. They also play Seattle. They also play Golden State. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, do they play Phoenix? I know the Sparks play Phoenix. Going off the top of my head now, I'm not completely sure if the Fever do again or not. But, and here is one of the other problems that we have going on, is the Indiana Fever reporters are reporting conflicting information. This is absolutely wild. Now we have this, not only conflicting information, let me back up because it is surrounding this. We are now going back to something that had never been reported previously, as Chloe Peterson says here. Sources confirmed to me that Caitlin Clark suffered a very mild bone bruise in her left ankle on August 7th. Source also stresses that this tweaked ankle does not affect her return timeline. Sans ankle injury, she would still be out rehabbing her groin. Now, here's the other thing. What timeline? What timeline? How can you tell us that there is no timeline and then tell us an injury from 2 weeks ago that you never reported, you're reporting now for some reason, doesn't affect the timeline that you told us does not exist. Look, please do not let people gaslight you. Don't let anyone tell you that the way the reporting is being handled with around Caitlin Clark's injury is normal. It is not normal. Normal. Let's not forget. Now, maybe it was a mistake to let the public know because they changed it, but let us not forget. It's already been a little while when Caitlin Clark was listed as a game time decision. Caitlin Clark was listed as questionable for a game the day, I believe, the day following a scan. In fact, she was questionable for the All Star game. I believe we didn't get a definitive answer to that until 24 hours, right, before the 3-point contest. A week later, I believe it was a week later, we got another scan, additional scan, and it said no further damage. The scan looked good. In July, late July, but July, she was full court sprinting, we were told. She was hoping to get back to practice the second week of August. Now, here we are on the 21st, heading into the fourth week of August. Because 2 weeks after we were told she's full court sprinting, we were told she's just started full court sprinting or full court running. Then there was the report that we thought she might return this week, which I believe was last week. Then little Scotty Agnes, he responded to someone, first of all, with a nasty, arrogant comment, and we'll get to that, but saying that she'd be out at least multiple more weeks. Oh, by the way, his source was just, trust me, bro. Trust me, bro. I always give it to you straight. He never gives it to you straight. He's Stephanie White in the Indiana Fever's little mouthpiece. Now we're bringing you to the next thing. Now we're bringing you to an ankle injury from 2 weeks ago that was never reported, and Indiana Fever beat writers are contradicting each other on that ankle injury. Yes, you heard me correctly. Let's go to this, and this is from Mick. This is what I said about Chloe not affecting her timeline. We don't they kept telling us there was no timeline, but they know enough about a timeline to tell us that the ankle injury that they didn't tell us about 2 weeks ago does not affect it. And then, and remember, that's a source. Then we had this from Scott, who got very snippy and very upset with a fan of the Indiana Fever, the people that allow Scott to have a job. Feel free to spend money how you like. I have a business to run. Dude, you're a beat reporter for the WNBA. But you then cannot complain about new reporting and details. Yes, we can. And yes, the injury has impacted her availability. Well, wait a minute. Chloe, who much less arrogantly and snottily says, her source said, it did not affect her return timeline. So which is it? These are the two Indiana Fever beat reporters. By the way, shout out to Thor and to CJ, the W360, who on a poll about who you would trust, who would you wanted more or trust more as an Indiana Fever beat reporter, and had Chloe and Scott, and Thor wrote in me, which CJ seconded. So thank you. Shout out to that. They would never allow me to do that because although I would be very, very professional, I would ask all the questions that they don't ask. And when I get a non answer, I would follow up with, well, you didn't actually answer my question. Let me ask it again. And of course, they would never in a million years allow that to happen. In fact, I think I have that here real quick, little detour. Room said, has me blocked. Another Fever fan has me blocked. Kind of wild. If you could only have one Fever beat reporter, who would it be? And you have little Scotty, Agatha, and Chloe, and Thor says CDS, and the W360 agreed. So shout out to them. Thank you. Just, pat myself on the back there a little bit. But let's dig in because now we've got a little clip here from Scotty reporting that we got to talk about.
Worst thing about it, couple sources telling me, worst thing about it happened at the very end of a workout session. Just awful luck, right? You feel good, she's looking good, and then one bad step on a defensive series, and boom, frustration. because I mean, just awful timing. Not that there's any good timing, to be clear, but now that's excuse me. Now that's something she and the team having to deal with, and it's also a situation I should make clear as well that she is working so hard. I'm told behind the scenes, just living in the training room and making frequent trips up north to do the hyperbaric chamber. And there's a lot of phone calls and a lot of conversations. The front office, I've told, is actively involved in this. Medical staff actively involved in this. Her agents actively in this. We're
This is absolute nonsensical crap. This is PR damage control from the Indiana Fever that they got their little simp to put out there for you because it makes no sense. What do lots of phone calls have to do with it? What does the front office being involved have to do with it? Absolutely nothing. And by the way, I would point out, first of all, why is she living in the training room? If you have an injury that we're told that she has, this groin injury, yes, there are things you can do with regard to rehab as much, but it's a lot of rest, folks. It's a lot of rest. So why is she living in the training room? And if she's making these constant trips up north to a hyperbaric chamber, first of all, you're the Indiana Fever. Why do you not have one? I'll ask that. But secondly, then, if she's making these constant trips and she's living in the training room, why is she on the damn road for every single one of these games, sitting on the freaking bench? What is the point of that? It sounds to me like like it's delaying her attempt to get back to the games. Right, Scotty? Isn't that what's happening? And of course, a lot of people did not like what Scott had to say. I can't take someone as insecure as him seriously, and there's some shade to him. Everybody's on a journey, but he just ain't it. I can smell the BS all the way from the East Coast. I'm confused. She was looking good and feeling good. Then this new injury happened, but this new injury reportedly didn't change her timeline to return. If that's the case, she should have practiced yesterday, like Steph said she would last week. Why don't they just say it's a setback? The other thing to that is it was back on the 7th. I don't listen to him anymore. I'm a Clark fan foremost, and he considers me dark. If we're the dark side, I don't know where he's at, which goes to, I think this is the next thing I wanted to talk about. Oh, no, yeah, we covered that. So we have this. I said, can someone explain? Because he said she got a first of all, I'm told she's not practicing, but she's training and she's just doing running. But then he said that she did this to her ankle on a defensive series. So what do you mean defensive series? Also, as we report here, bone bruise. Have any of you ever had a bone bruise? How did she get a bone bruise if she's not practicing, if she's not involved with other people? Was she ready to come back and Stephanie White walked by her and whacked her in the ankle with a bat? Is that what happened? Because that's a good way to get a bone bruise. That is a very good way to get it, but you certainly don't get a bone bruise just running on your own. It's not happening. Just real quick, I thought this was really cool. Shout out D-Tran for showing this to me. We've got Dejanay Carrington, J.C. Sheldon on the face, Angel Reese there on the shoulder, Diamond the Shields, Kennedy Carter, Ari went on the Sparks, Marina Mabry, and there's probably a bunch of others. And then the last thing I want to bring you, because this goes back to that bone bruise, because we're told it was August 7th, correct me if I'm wrong, was in Phoenix, folks. That happened in Phoenix. You know what else happened? This. This happened in Phoenix as well. Now, Caitlin's there. That looked like, now that maybe gave Caitlin Clark, we're going to back it up. This maybe gave Caitlin Clark a bone bruise. She's there. How do you step on her that much that she hurts herself to where she gingerly has to go sit back down? Someone please explain that to me. How the coach could be so utterly stupid. But anyway, I am going to leave it there. This is crazy. I mean, this is so good, and part of me it laughs because what else can you do at this point? But If you really let it sink in, it gets you kind of worked up. But anyway, I'm gonna leave it there. Sorry about that. This got longer than I thought. There's more to cover than I thought. I'm curious what all of you think. Do you think she'll even be back? Do you think? And this is wild because never in a million years until Caitlin Clark got into the WNBA in all of my sports fandom, with all the teams and sports that I follow, would I have ever think some of the things I think now with this league? Hey, for all we know, Caitlin Clark has been like, you know what, I'm done. I can't play for you, coach. Go back to that video I did the other day when she refused to get into the huddle. I can't play for you. I can't play on this team the way it's treated me, the way it's treated the fans in this league that has me targeted for injury every time I step out on the court. Maybe that's it. Maybe she says, I'm done. I'm going to force you to trade me. If you don't want to trade me, well, I'm going to play elsewhere because I don't need the money or the accolades from the WNBA. Maybe Stephanie White doesn't want her back. We all heard her say, like no other coach would ever do when she got hurt, it's a blessing in disguise. Now, last thing I'll add to that, because to be fair, is yeah, in say like the NFL or the NBA, you'll have them talk about the mentality of next guy up, right? Next player up. And that's fine. That is very different from saying it's a blessing in disguise. It's just, hey, we got other players going to get an opportunity. It's injuries. It sucks, but it's part of the game. We got to have that next guy up mentality to get the job done so that we're in a good position when so and so gets back. Very different from blessing in disguise. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for checking out this video. Appreciate it as always. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Go have the day you deserve. I'll talk to you later.